And this man says he's ready to replace Gaddafi and is setting up an interim government. Well, it's 0300 GMT, 5 o'clock in the morning in Libya, 10 o'clock at night in New York, where the United Nations Security Council has just voted for sanctions against Muammar al-Gaddafi and his inner circle. Let's go straight now to Kristen Salumi. She's for us at the United Nations. Kristen, just bring us up to date with what's happened to this very strong, unanimous, some are calling perhaps even historical decision.
That's right. It was a little bit slow to get going, especially for critics who were calling on the international community to do something to stop the violence in Libya. But once it got going, the momentum picked up and it couldn't be stopped. In the course of 24 hours, we had a draft circulated on a resolution and passed. And this resolution imposes sanctions on the Libyan regime, an arms embargo, a travel ban, and asset freeze for Muammar Gaddafi and members of his inner circle. And perhaps most notably, it refers Libya to the International Criminal Court to be investigated for possible crimes against humanity. It was a rare show of international unity. The Secretary General called it a vital step and a clear expression of the unity of nations. Now, other ambassadors described it as a clear, swift, and strong message to the Libyan regime that violence must stop and that those who commit violence against peaceful demonstrators will be held accountable. Here's a little bit of what Susan Rice, the United States ambassador to the UN, had to say.
When atrocities are committed against innocents, the international community must speak with one voice, and today it has. Tonight, acting under Chapter 7, the Security Council has come together to condemn the violence, pursue accountability, and adopt biting sanctions, targeting Libya's unrepentant leadership. This is a clear warning to the Libyan government that it must stop the killing. Those who slaughter civilians will be held personally accountable. The international community will not tolerate violence of any sort against the Libyan people by their government or security forces.
We've also heard from Libya's deputy ambassador to the UN, who has now, of course, turned his back on Gaddafi and is siding with the protesters. Well, he had these words for the UN Security Council.
The Tripoli regime has no longer any credibility. It goes without saying that this resolution represents moral support for our people who are resisting before the firing which has been imposed on them by the regime. It is an essential point in the position of the international community on the occasion of the carnage we are witnessing today in Libya. I have in mind here an attempt to protect civilians. This resolution will be a signal in order to put an end to this fascist regime.
Well, Kristen, maybe strong words, but if you're hoping for more direct intervention, perhaps military action, no-fly zones, that isn't there. Is the idea, perhaps reading into some of what was said there by the deputy Libyan ambassador, that this can perhaps be used more to get some of those behind Gaddafi to crack?
Absolutely. That's what was said by many of the ambassadors and the delegations here at the United Nations, and the Libyan deputy ambassador himself in the Security Council chamber appealed to members of the military in Libya to turn their backs on Gaddafi and to side with the people of Libya. Very unusual situation to have the Libyan delegation here calling for action against their own government, essentially. But a lot of the delegates here said that the Libyans' appeal to the Security Council to take action to try to stop the bloodshed was very key in getting this resolution passed. In fact, one of the sticking points in this resolution was the referral to the International Criminal Court. A number of delegations had expressed concern that this might not have the desired effect of stopping the violence. It could harden sides or do something to that effect. They were looking for different wording in the resolution. But in the end, the Libyan ambassador sent an official letter to the Security Council asking for this resolution, saying that he in fact supported the referral to the International Criminal Court, and many of the delegates said that that was a turning point in getting everyone on board to support this resolution, all 15 members of the Security Council.
There was a lot of discussion, though, wasn't there, Kristin, about the whole process of referral, how quick. What did they decide in the end? Just how effective and quick is the referral as it stands in the resolution?
It is an immediate referral to the International Criminal Court, and in the end, the Europeans were pushing strongly for this, and they got the wording that they desired. They're in a slight manner of appeasement, if you will. There was a line inserted into the text which refers to a section of the law, the section of the treaty that sets up the International Criminal Court, which says that the Security Council can at any time stop the International Criminal Court's investigation for a period of 12 months if it's considered to be detrimental to international peace and security. But this is in the law. It's something that was there, but various members of the council asked for this to be put in to remind the world, I guess, that there is some wiggle room here. But it is an immediate referral to the International Criminal Court. Only the second time that the Security Council has referred a country to the International Criminal Court, the first time being Sudan over the situation in Darfur.
All right, Kristin Salumi, live from the United Nations. Well, just before that vote, we heard some of the strongest words yet from the US President, Barack Obama, calling on Muammar Gaddafi to leave now. Monica Villamizar is in Washington, D.C.
Yes, the Obama administration has really stepped up its rhetoric regarding the situation in Libya. 24 hours ago, the president had just announced officially that they were going to apply unilateral sanctions, financial sanctions, a travel ban as well, that he had waited until most U.S. citizens were evacuated to announce these sanctions or punishment. But in the last hours, the Obama administration has called now on Muammar Gaddafi to step down. The president said in the context of a phone call with German Chancellor Angela Merkel that any president who has lost legitimacy and is now resorting to violence against his people must really step down. And then afterwards, this message was reinforced by Secretary Clinton, who went into detail regarding the sanctions. It also said that the limited military cooperation between the United States and Libya had been suspended. And obviously, this is now a stronger set of measures that the White House has taken. It's very interesting to know that they have been orchestrated with other world leaders and pretty much in unison with the rest of the international community. And we will be keeping you posted with all the developments of the situation from here in the White House. I'm Monica Villamizar, AlJazeera in Washington.
Meanwhile, protesters have taken control of most of eastern Libya and are closing in on the capital, Tripoli. Witnesses there say Gaddafi loyalists have been carrying out his orders to kill opponents. In Benghazi, though, residents are trying to rebuild after more than a week of violence. Banks are reopening, but many shops are still closed to mourn those killed in the demonstrations. Much of eastern Libya is now in the hands of the demonstrators. Libya's ex-Justice Minister Mustafa Mohammed Abdel Jalil says he's going to help form an interim government based in Benghazi. We'll hear from him in a moment, but first, Huda Abdel Hamid has this report from inside Libya.
Praying to God for help in surviving an intense battle in Zawiya, 50 kilometers west of the capital Tripoli. Gaddafi is the enemy of God, this protester cries out. Seconds later, the gunfire gets much closer. This video was sent to AlJazeera after being filmed on Saturday morning. Zawiya is a strategic town with an oil terminal where opposition forces are gathering to drive Muammar Gaddafi from his last remaining strongholds.
Now there's only Tripoli and a few other towns left. That's why I urge the Libyan people that there's no going back. Going back's impossible. We have to move forward. All the patriotic, courageous and respected Libyan youth should help the people of Tripoli to carry out their duties.
Much of eastern Libya is already in opposition control, but these images, set to be filmed on Friday, show massive protests in Misurata, another western city 210 kilometers from the capital. AlJazeera cannot independently verify this video or another said to be from Misurata that appears to show more soldiers joining the protesters' cause. Libya's head of special forces, the latest Gaddafi ally, now rallying for his removal.
I place all my expertise and capabilities at the service of the youth revolution. I urge all honest members of the special forces to rejoin their units immediately and to protect the gains of the February 17th revolution and protect the lives of the Libyan people and their property.
And this video shows exactly why Libyans need protecting. Heavily armed men drag away a limp body and stuff it into a car. Uploaded on YouTube, it also can't be verified, but is said to be filmed in Tripoli during Friday's clashes. Painting a different picture, these images, shot by Associated Press on a government-sponsored media offensive under the restrictions of Gaddafi loyalists.
Tripoli is 100% safe. There are no problems. People are going about their business. There are no problems and people are going to work.
It would seem this vision is about as useful as state television to show what's really happening in Libya, or just how much longer its under-siege leader can hang on. Most of the oil-rich East has fallen into the hands of the opposition. There is a sense of security, but it's a volatile situation. The opposition also says it has taken control of oil refineries, now operating at a minimal capacity. For people here, the most important is to retain the gains, keep the momentum, while they wait and see what happens in the west of the country. Hud Abdelhamid, AlJazeera, Eastern Libya.
Well, as the international community speaks out, some inside Libya are already taking steps to replace Muammar al-Gaddafi. Libya's former justice minister says he's setting up a government to replace the current one.
Today in the city of Benghazi, an important meeting